Welcome to A Time to Thrill. It's me, your host, Amy Austin. This month, I have the delight of speaking with author Sarah Vance-Tompkins. So, Sarah came into the industry at a later time, and I don't mean later, how can I say this? There was a lot of the authors I know around my age came into writing and publishing in a very prescribed, traditional era. It was query, get an agent, get a publishing deal, or query if you could write for Harlequin or some of the romance publishers. It was query, get a book deal, whether it was 1, 3, or 5 at the time. Actually, get a book deal, get your advance, sell your books, and move on to the whatever the next thing was, and whether that was selling more books to Harlequin, getting a single title deal with Harlequin, getting a single title deal with a New York publisher, getting an agent, and getting a hardcover deal. So there were very strict paths, and people followed those paths, and there weren't a lot of alternatives. Then came Amazon and Kindle and the ebook revolution, and that changed. And Sarah came to publishing not even during the beginning of the cusp of that change, 2010, 2012. She came a little bit later in 2016 when that sort of revolution had happened and things were different. There were a lot of small ebook first publishers who were out there who either were running lean, amazing machines and selling to not only their little people in their universe, but were able to move nimbly and market well, or there were many who came and flamed out. And so it was when you were selling it was easier to sell a book, but you didn't know what was going to happen. If you sold a book back in the day, you could have good sales or bad sales, but you had a much better idea of what was going to happen to your book after publication. And in 2016, it was the Wild West. So we talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about making achievements later in life and what third act holds. So I think I met Sarah. I met her through the romance community, as I meet all. But she was a member of both the Los Angeles and Orange County romance writers. And back in the day, especially in 2016 stuff, I used to go to all of those meetings monthly. For the most part, I went to monthly meetings at OCC, and then oddly less often in Los Angeles. But all that said, we actually used to meet at Borders, which is long gone. So long gone. But we used to meet at bookstores, the back of bookstores, and have these meetings and spend a lot of time. And there was a lot of camaraderie. And it was a time when you could seek out advice and sort of apply it instantly. And also, and we talk about this a little bit, the RWA at the time, sort of like mystery writers or science fiction and fantasy, those 3 organizations had a lot of heft, and for genre writers could move the ball forward. Not always, because they didn't always do the right thing. We're not going to get into that. But they could help move the ball forward and deal with wholesale issues like AI. And now we have to rely on the Authors Guild, who's actually doing a fine job, especially with the Anthropic settlement. But it's a different era where, yes, as indie authors, you can really be nimble and do your own thing, but also it's really hard to have collective action without organizations supporting that. So we talk about that and other things, but it's a great talk. It's in video, so you get to see the both of us here in my house and everybody else in their home. So without further ado, I'd like to give you the opportunity to hear this lovely talk with Sarah Vance-Tompkins, because as always, I have so many questions. Before we dive into today's conversation, I want to take a moment to thank this episode's sponsor, Audible. You know how much I love a good story. I write them, I read them, and sometimes when I can't sit down long enough to open a book, I listen to them. Lately, I've been listening to Audible while I walk, travel, or even sometimes while cooking dinner. There's something about hearing a story performed that makes it come alive in a different way. I just finished Julie Chan is Dead by Lian Zhang. an Alice Feeney book, Beautiful Ugly, and the latest Lindley book by Elizabeth George. So I'm going to be honest, this is how I do it. I get a book both on Kindle and on Audible, and I go back and forth listening to both. So when I'm driving in the car or with my son at some activity, I will listen to audiobooks, and then when I'm home I read them on Kindle, and Audible makes it easy to switch back and forth in the app. Honestly, I do it every time. I want to keep the book going while I'm driving, and so I just switch to the audiobook, and then when I get home I switch back to the Kindle because honestly I can read faster than I can listen. Anyway, the best part is that with Audible, you get a 30-day free trial. You can start listening today. You get one audiobook you can keep forever, even if you cancel. So if you've been wanting to read more stories that pull you in and won't let go, including my own Casey Court series, which are all available on Audible, go to audible.com. The link is in the show notes, or in the alternative ebooks.buzz/audible. Hi, and welcome to A Time to Thrill. This is me, your host, Amy Austin. This month, I have the delight of speaking with Sarah Vance-Tompkins. Hi.
Hello. It's good to be here.
How are you?
Good. It's so nice to see your face after all these years.
I used to go out before COVID. I don't know what to say.
Same.
I
Same.
mean,
I know.
I don't know whether the change has been okay. Well, two things happened at the same time. RWA had its lovely
Right.
implosion, and then COVID. So between those two things,
Yes.
I feel like I used to be out every month at least doing
Yes.
author things, and then a lot of them just went away. And then
Yes.
also, how many author things? As I get older, I'm like, how much of this am I going to do? You know what I mean? So there may have been natural attrition. Otherwise, I'm not sure.
I have gone to some like I miss RWA a lot, but I understand why it imploded, and I believe strongly in it. It should have been imploded. But I just feel like there's no better time that no more time that we need someone like an organization like that would advocate for authors, especially now that independent publishing is so prevalent, and AI. I think we just need to address it as a group, as a force. And the other thing was just just that closeness that you felt to other authors, and that those lunches at Orange County on
Yeah.
Saturdays, they were heartwarming. They kept me going. Occasionally, I've been to a couple of author events, but they've been like reader events. One was in Hawthorne at Common Spaces Brewery, and it was a huge romance author thing, a reader thing, and thousands of people showed up. But it was from a different angle, from the perspective of readers rather than writers. But still, there were all these young women there who were totally jazzed about reading, and it got me like back feeling that feeling that we had.
Oh, that's nice. I don't think I've done an author thing since COVID. I know I went to do some library things, but they're sort of divorced from any context. But I'm not
Yeah,
sure if I've done anything like that since COVID. That's nice because I do find that every so often I get like a reader email, and I think to myself, "Oh, this is why. This is why
yeah.
I do it." Excuse me. But like so recently, actually, I got an author email. I'll say this, and she
I
was
have never
like,
gotten one, so I'm so jealous. But so tell me, yes.
I get them all the time, but well, there's a reason why. Because I write about topics that are what is the word to say? Triggering, and I don't mean this in a
Yeah,
bad way.
yeah.
So
No,
I
I
do
think
get
that's
a
what you should be doing. Yeah.
I get a lot of emails, but they're very personal, and I don't get like at the beginning of this, Beth here now. So we used to talk about this. And so she used to get emails from readers, and she'd be like, you should write a review. And I'm like, if I get like a heartfelt email about people talking about like abuse or foster care, that's really not the time to have a conversation about reviews. But I did get an email from an author who's like, I just found you and I read 10 of your books and I have 5 to go. And I thought, wow, she's blown through them. I have nothing else to give her.
I gotta get back to the keyboard.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
That's fabulous.
I think I've got nothing else to offer you, right now. So I want to ask this: okay, let's start at the beginning. How did you come to writing?
Oh, I think I came to it by reading. I was an only child. My father went to the library every Tuesday night. I read. I think when I was 3, I learned how to read,
Yeah,
and
same.
so I was an early reader. Loved to read. We were a small family. We didn't have a lot of money, so reading was for me the world. It brought the world into the house, and
So
it was. I mean,
did you grow up in California?
no, I grew up in Michigan. I'm from Michigan. I was born
Mm.
in a small town in northern Michigan, and grew up in a suburb of Detroit. Um,
Okay, so wait, why Tuesday night? Just randomly, because we went on Saturdays.
Let me tell you why. Because
Yeah.
back in Dearborn, Michigan, or in Detroit, there is a soda fountain place called Saunders Hot Fudge. Saunders, they actually sell chocolates, and they sell it like across the United States. And on Tuesday nights, they had their happy hour for the hot fudge sundaes. It was a 10 cent, I believe, hot fudge sundae back then, and that was and there was one right next door to the library. So on Tuesday nights, so we would go to the library and then get the hot fudge sundae for 10 cents.
Okay, that is the way to like talk about combining two things.
Yeah, that was my dad. You know,
Mm.
if he could, he was like the original multitasker. He would be reading 2 magazines, a newspaper, and have the television on, and be perfectly happy. Just that he was like me, that information overload, constant need for information input all the time.
I just switched
And
through two different channels. I'm trying to watch them at the same time, and I was like, I don't think I should watch a video and then play a video in
well,
the
now that I've gotten to the
background.
age where I can't like drive the car and listen to the radio at the same time. Not true, but I'm getting close. Let me just say. So that's where it started. I became crazy for Agatha Christie when I was in 4th grade. I mean, I read all of them, and that's all I wanted to do. When I was in 7th grade, I wrote a book, my first mystery. It was called The Diamonded Death, and the guy was actually beaten to death with a giant diamond, which I thought was so clever at the time. And now I'm just like, it was like a baseball sized diamond, and they yeah. So anyway, um, and but right about that time when I was 13 is when I started reading romance. And I think that if and I mean, like, not reading, it was devour.
Mm.
And that kind of took over my Agatha Christie phase, just because it was like the happily ever after. It was a drug. The happily ever after in the romance is a drug, and I don't think I got over it for a long time. And now, in my Agatha Christie years, or maybe I'm in my Miss Marple years, I've started writing mysteries, and I feel like I'm in a really good place with it. I absolutely really love it.
Okay, so okay, I have about 1,400 questions, and I'm going to start with one. What era of romance did you come into? Because I came in, okay, at the used bookstore, it was still
Yeah, yeah.
Barbara Cartland, but at the library, oh, the library had presents. And but what I could get from what we called tag sales back then, garage sales, I don't know,
Yeah.
you sales at people's houses on their front
Mhm.
lawn or front yard. Those you could get at the time. I never read historical, so I can't speak to that. And I now know that was
Yeah.
different. But I, for contemporary, that was at the time of like Temptation first came out and things like that. So I had
Oh,
like
yeah.
the Barbara Cartland, I probably read too. Because I was like, this is not working for me.
Yeah, these were definitely Harlequin or Silhouette, I have a feeling.
Oh, I remember
Both
the
both
silhouette.
were,
Yeah.
yeah. When I was coming of age, that they were both there. I was a junior librarian, and that meant I got to check out the children. I had a desk and a stamp. I could check out the children's books, and then the librarian's name was Effie Peterson.
Oh my gosh.
Effie, a librarian named Effie, and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, she'd take a quarter out of the fine drawer and have me run to the grocery store across the street and get 2 chocolate bars, and that was our treat in the afternoon. So my world is molded by treats and chocolate.
I
So
like chocolate and books. That's so fascinating. Okay. So what, when you, okay, the first romance I read, I actually have it here because it was my
you
grandmother's house.
do? You remember it? I mine are all blended together because I read too many. Yeah.
Well, it was because my grandmother, so I had well, I had two grandmothers, obviously. I don't
Did
know
your
why I said
grandmother
that.
did your grandmother read? Did you have relatives who
Yeah,
read
yeah, yeah. So everybody read.
romance? Okay.
No, so that's the thing. Everybody
Okay, alright.
read a
Yeah,
lot. My mother read like English novels that they were importing. The paper was super thin because then importing things was expensive. My mother's mother read whatever was popular. So she would buy, but from New York
right.
City. So
The
she would buy
bestsellers.
nickel and dime store novels on the
Yeah,
subway. But then she also read like whatever was popular. So like Rosemary's Baby and like whatever the top selling oddity of the moment in my head. But my father read only like newspapers and magazines, like Time, Newsweek, that kind of thing. I don't even know if
yeah.
all that
My mom
existed.
is completely a nonfiction reader. She does not recognize fiction, which I think is made romance for me very forbidden, because, but also it allowed me to read it because she didn't know what I was reading. But second of all, it became something that, I read, and my dad read spy novels. He loved spy novels, and so the two of us were like sneaking these, and my mom was very much reading very dry fiction, I mean nonfiction stuff. So
No, so but
uh,
my father's mother read. It's so weird because she was a big talker. I shouldn't say this. I'm a talker, but she was a big talker, and I don't know if I ever saw her read. She had piles of books, but
right.
I don't. But she also was cooking. I mean, she was doing traditional woman things, which is its
Yeah.
own thing. She was cooking all day and ironing clothes, and all that kind of thing.
Did
So
you
what
have a
she
multi-generational family in the same home, or
no, but everybody lived in Brooklyn, and I spent
okay?
time. So at the when my parents got divorced, they moved back into their parents' homes.
Oh, okay, all right. So
So
you
my mother lived in her mother's house, and my father lived in his mother's house.
okay, yeah,
You know what I mean? So they each had a
yeah.
house in Brooklyn, and my father's mother had this one book called The Taming of Tamsin. I remember, but she they bought me lots of books, but they were all children's books. I have no idea what possessed me that day to like wander around the house and pick that up. Maybe it was the purple cover, and I read it, and I was like, "Oh, what just happened?" I don't know what just happened, but something just happened. And I read that one many times because I feel like she only had the one. Um,
My grandma had that I stole off my grandma's bookshelf too. She had was it Shayna by Kathleen Woodiwiss? Was that the one? Um, and I read that I don't know how many times. Um, yeah, and I probably read it before I knew what was actually happening
so
in
that's
the
the
book.
thing. When I was younger, I don't think I understood. And okay, the book is
Yeah,
not good. The messages are not good. I
yeah,
don't think
no,
he ever says he likes her. He doesn't talk to her. He looks at her evilly. Like, she's up there like serving
mhm.
him meals while he's like, I don't know if he's working, typing. I don't know if she was a secretary or whatever. I have to go think about that. And yet I pursued more of them. So when I used to go to the public library, and at first, like librarians would give me like what they thought I was interested in, and I don't know at what point I figured out, oh, I can get these other books. Like I can wander away from this section, reading about like historical children
No
in the
gatekeeping, no
Revolutionary
gatekeeping.
War,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
get
yeah.
to the romance. So, what was your favorite genre then? Was it mostly, excuse me,
Well, I'm
contemporary?
not even sure I knew, I mean, because we're talking the '80s, so I think, most of them were pretty bodice ripping historicals, um, and, and I think, when I started reading more well, let me just say, I think that I read those kind of things up until I went to college, and then I probably in college and in my early career, I don't think I read romance novels that much. And then what brought me back to it was actually chick lit, Bridget Jones' Diary,
Oh, so you
and
took a pause. I didn't take a pause. So I remember in college, the thing about college is that I had a lot of time.
you read during college.
I went to the public library. I mean, not obviously we had got lots of college libraries with fiction, but it was all
You
very.
You amaze me. Yeah,
So I would.
I was had my hands full with the text. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't have time. I mean, I
yeah.
majored in English, but I would bike to the library, the public library, in the cold. It was so cold.
I've always gone to a public library. It doesn't matter what city or town I've lived in. I've always known where the library was. I've always had a library card for that place. I've always when I've had free time, I've always gone and hung out there.
It's always the
That
first thing I've
public
done.
library has been my best friend all my life. Um, it was, yeah. I mean, my dad died when I was in my early 20s, and I think that all of my memories are really, I mean, of going to the library with him. I have so many wonderful memories. So even to this day, I love to go to the library. Public libraries are amazing.
I have 3 cards. So I have one for here, one for Beverly Hills, and one for the county.
Ooh,
Um,
Beverly Hills.
yeah,
Wow.
I got one when I first moved here. I found out that if you lived in, I don't know if it's the city or county, I'm sure it's probably the county, you can have one. And they have a pretty good fiction librarian, and they don't have as much rotation as LA does.
Wow.
So you can get books
I'm going to
easier.
look into that. I am going to look into that. As a matter, yes, I'm going to
I
look into that.
I had so they've changed though. When I first went there, they had a gold library card because it was Beverly Hills, and now it's. I'd have to go look. It's something bland. Um,
There are some fun old school things about Beverly Hills, about Los Angeles.
mhm.
Um, and Beverly Hills is one of those things. There's like some hidden gems in Beverly Hills where
No,
there's
so
like,
the library's in a historic building. I was there a couple weeks ago, and I really like it. So anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, like they've been holding on to some things that are kind of old school retro cool, and it's like it's very 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 interesting. I mean, there's a lot of Beverly Hills that I don't have any purpose for, but the library, love it.
No, so that one's good. And then I do go to some. I have met a lot of librarians in the city of Los Angeles, and some of them are better curators than others. And
Yeah,
so the librarians who curate fiction that I like, I go to their branches.
that's a really good idea.
And they move around. I mean, I've been here a while, so I mean, I learned a lot about that. Um, so what made you? Okay, I didn't read historical. I don't know if they were not
I think that
there,
I didn't
or I
I
don't know
didn't
if
I
the
didn't
covers like just never.
oh,
I've read maybe
I was
10
always
in my
hiding
life.
the covers. I was always hiding the covers. Covers when I was reading them, they were very bodice ripping, very very bodice ripping.
Mhm.
I hid the covers as much as I could, and yeah. And then, like I said, I kind of well, I went to I I became interested in screenwriting, and I think I started reading scripts. So that's that time period when I was reading scripts. And then in my early 30s, Bridget Jones came out, and I totally identified with that. That her situation was just like what the working a job and not being given any credit for it. And then I liked the whole idea of the a woman, like a young woman, taking on her life, and in the professional capacity, and kind of the romance was kind of a secondary kind of thing. I liked
Mhm.
that really resonated with me somehow. So, and then almost as soon as I got into chicklet, they were like, don't say chicklet, don't, you can't, don't oh, you, what are you doing? So yeah, and I was always like, but that's it, but it feels really good. So and then almost immediately following that, I think romance genres became much broader, and there was sports romance and contemporary romance,
That's true.
um, and uh, and 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 also romantic suspense, and uh, the category romances, and all of it. Um, I've read all of it. I don't think I've read a lot of inspirational romances, and I'm not always a paranormal um, reader. Although I do get the appeal of the romantasy, the current romantasy. Uh, fa-
So I don't get.
Fascinating.
Okay, so okay. Can I ask you about the script writing or reading,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's the one. Okay, having living here, whenever people meet me, they're like, "Oh, you're a writer," and I was like, "Yes." And I just had this
yes,
conversation with some new person I met
yes.
2 weeks ago, and she was like, "Oh," she was like, are you writing on some show?" And I was like, No, no, I write books," and there's always a pause, a
Oh, yeah.
long pause,
Oh. Mhm.
and then
So So I came to Los Angeles to go to film school at USC, and that's I learned how to. I was at the University of Michigan, and they brought in this screenwriting professor for a weekend, and he taught like his class in 2 days, and I was like, "This is the most fun thing I've ever done," and that was it, and that's what I wanted to do. I think I learned how that the mechanics of screenwriting a lot better than I was ever good at writing screenplays, and I also think I was. I think I think the movies, the current movies that when I was so I started working in the film business like mid 90s, mid 1990s.
Okay.
Um, and I was out by the early 2000s. So in that era, um, women were never the target market for.
Are they now? Did I miss something? Did I like?
No, no. I just want to make clear that that was that time period, and we were not the target. I mean, because the history of film, women they started out making movies for women. I mean, it was the his back in the old, the silver screen. That was those were movies for women. So I think the things I was writing just had no audience. I mean, they weren't going to be made by and uh, but and then I realized, oh, romance novels are written read by women, and so I started finding other ways. I mean, because I wanted to be a writer. I knew I wanted to be make my living as a writer. Um, so I started finding other ways to get paid to write. I wrote ad copy. I think I told you this. I wrote ad copy for a long time. I wrote for an entertainment trade publication. I did a lot of as social media advanced. I did a lot of content creation. I worked for a personal lubricant company making their content, which was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And so I started finding ways to make a living as a writer, and then started writing romance as on the side, and realizing that those were the stories I wanted to tell. Were about women for women, um, and women are readers. Um, they are readers.
Okay, I have two questions, and these are completely. I don't even know where to start. A, did you read the script for Promising Young Woman?
No, I haven't, but I know I should.
It's the best
Um,
script I've ever read.
all right, let me write. I've got to write all these things down, and I don't have pencils. Hold on.
It's okay. I might send it to you. Do you? It was like I woke up one morning and it was on the front page. I want to say Variety, like, and I
Yeah,
was like, oh. And I literally was sitting in bed for 2 hours reading that, and that never happens. I usually go, I don't understand scripts, but it was the
yeah.
best script I ever read. The script made me better than the movie.
I
Um,
have I
so
haven't read screenplays in so long, and I used to do it, for a living. I used to read screenplays. So,
it's literally the best one ever. I
yeah,
may have recycled it because I did print it out eventually because I was like, if they could all be this good,
oh yeah.
then well, then a lot of things. Okay, I have a different question. Have you? And this is so random. Have you ever considered writing the Harlequin movies? I mean, not Harlequin, Hallmark.
Oh,
Excuse me.
yes. Yes, I
I
would
had to
love
get
to
that
write a
right.
Hallmark movie. I love Hallmark movies. But my first book for Thule, my first romance book for Thule, it's called. Oh, it's over this side. This side. Okay.
Mhm.
On Christmas Tree Cove. It was actually. It has been optioned for the Hallmark Channel. And I believe the options expired. But yeah, my first book was optioned, and I was very excited. And I had written it with great hopes that it could be turned into a movie. Actually, all three books I wrote for Thule, I had great hopes. I feel like that's what screenwriting has informed my writing
Mhm.
is with cinematic pieces, and because I think that screenwriting can also um, hobble your novel writing because you don't write the emotions on the page. That's the
That's
part
true.
that the actor contributes. That's it's a collaborative process when you're writing screenplays. So the actor brings that to the page, and they really resist the fact that you would write what tell them what they're feeling. Um, so that took me a long time to get past that. Um,
They're so, to me, I'm not saying I don't, okay, to me, because I know people have feelings about this. There's such different ways of writing. Like I mean, okay, I've read Save the
it's
Cat, God knows. I mean,
right,
so
right, yeah,
I understand the beats and I understand that every story has to hit, okay, 95% of stories. There's always the outliers, but 95% of stories have to
mhm,
hit those like sort of satisfactory beats so that people get what they're looking for out of a story. But you're right about screenplays, and that's always the struggle I've had reading them because it's hard
yeah,
for me to envision. I'm not like a visual person, so it's hard for me to like add that other piece in. And it's the reason actually I think I like a lot of like writer director movies because I feel like at least I get the vision of one person and I
right,
know what they both wanted to say and see.
yes, yes,
Whereas the
yes.
more collaborative ones, I struggle because I feel like sometimes the visions are competing.
Yes, yes, and I think well, I think from a writer's point of view, um, the screenplays are very clean, and I think that, novel writing that's clean is always something I is my catnip. At the same time, I do feel like the emotions that need to be in there, the stuff, aren't necessarily on the page, and I always have to go back and go, did I get it in there? Because there's not going to be, I'm not going to have Emma Thompson come along and figure out how to act this out. And I also really get concerned that that my descriptive actions going to sound a little bit too much like stage directions. And he
Um,
exited the door. It's like, oh, shoot.
So I
Okay.
will say this. This is horrible. The first book that I published traditionally, it was the first book I published. The first edit I got was at some point the hero and heroine in a car, and she says or he says somebody's father died,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, and the other character then asks something like, "Are we going in the door or what's for dinner?" or whatever, and the editor's like, somebody's father just died and they just admitted that. Perhaps we should discuss the emotion or take that line out. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
you're right. It
I
was it
know.
was it was pretty like, oh God, okay, that's brutal. It was brutal. It was brutal. Because I don't even know what I was thinking when I wrote it. It's hard to say. I think I was moving them from one place to another and
Right,
I
they were ignoring that. They were ignoring whatever, emotional moment had happened, and, yeah, and you realize that that's what the actors are doing, they're ignoring it, but you have to write that down when somebody's reading it, and, it's a whole different thing, and, it definitely I mean, screenwriting informs my writing, and I'm well aware of it. But there are things there are just differences. It's like you know, writing for television and writing for radio. You know what the differences are
Mhm.
and what you need to do, and better I think you have to use the strengths that what the strengths are in novel writing to your best advantage that you do get to put those emotions on the page um, that does become how people end up writing letters to you because they have they have that emotion on the page and the way you make it feel is exactly something from their memory and I think that's what I love about books.
Wait, so do you think what are you making them feel is triggering something from their memory? Wait,
Maybe.
I hadn't thought about it
Um,
that way.
I think that I think that well, let me put it this way. I think that for me, as an only child in a small town who was quiet and reading, that when I read books like Bridget Jones or I read other books, I guess like Jane Eyre, I understood the loneliness. I got those emotions, and I was like, oh, somebody else has felt this before, and it made me feel like belong.
So you're making me think. So I was talking to Oh my god, an actor once, like in a right before it was right before right after COVID. I remember that because I had a lot
Yeah.
of time. And he is a stage actor in LA. And I was asking him about acting or something because I don't quite get it. I mean, I understand what acting is. I don't understand
No, that kind of bare naked thing, I could beyond me, beyond me.
exactly.
Um,
It's like
yeah,
there's a couple of things I just am like beyond my
there's something I know
him.
I couldn't do. Yes, yes, yes.
But he was saying that the reason he did it is because he had the opportunity to it helped him how can I'm not going to even say it right. It helped him understand how different people feel in different situations.
Love
And that
that.
and I know and I was like, "Oh." I
I love
think for
that.
the first time I was like, "Oh,
Compassion. Mhm.
oh." Like it really like I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh." I think we were on Zoom of all things, but I was like, "Got it." It was so interesting because I don't necessarily think about it that I always think about it more of like I don't know even how to say this, like not rehashing, but sort of it's more like a dollhouse for me, I think, where you put people in situations and then see what
Uh-huh.
happens.
I love that. I love that. Um, yeah,
And
I love that.
less the other thing, but it's hard. You're like making me think about things I never think about. So that's interesting. So what was the first book you published? I think I remember. I think I remember.
Oh, yeah, no, it was called, it's not it's
Wait,
actually,
not kisses on a paper air.
yeah,
No,
yeah, it's on a paper airplane. It's a little novella,
I remember
and
it. Sorry, I don't know why I remember that.
it was really fun. I actually really love that little book. It just was really sweet, and I remember, going reading it at one point at a bookstore, and it just had one I was and I like you know how hard you work on your book, and then you edit and you re-edit and you get copy edits, and then it comes out and it's like this, and then I started reading it and I was just like, hey, this isn't like, while I'm reading it, this isn't so bad. And I could feel like the people in their seats leaning forward while I was reading it, and I knew I was coming to a cliffhanger at the end of this chapter, and I finished the chapter and I closed the book and I looked out and they were like, how can you stop there? And I was like, oh my God, I've done something right. It was the first time I was like, oh my God, I did something right.
So what year
Um,
was that? I hate to ask you. I just don't it's I can see the book cover. There's so many book not so many.
I know.
I don't remember
Uh,
book covers. This one I remember
and
with the blue and the
I
airplane.
actually just got the rights back to it, and I'm hoping to self-publish in next year. Um, and I think it was 2017.
Oh, my son would have been little. So yeah, I just remember that.
Yeah, I love
I
that
don't
little book. It was pink and purple, and
hmm.
it was just a fun girl has meets a celebrity on a plane, and they
There was
fall in
something
love.
I really liked about the cover because covers I
Yeah, that
my
was a pretty cover. It
was
was a
pretty
really pretty cover. Yeah. Mhm,
wow.
mhm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
know, now that I've got the rights back, I'm like, how can I one of the things I've been doing is like, I'll never get a cover that I love that much. How will I ever find a cover artist to, to
mhm,
create something that's that attractive? And plus, I've been doing a lot of my own covers recently, just because with AI, I'm AI has become really tricky to find. I think
mhm.
as it's gotten better. So, and I would prefer to use an artist
Would
rather
you
than.
consider I say this
Oh yeah.
cognizant of the cost, would you consider a cartoon cover? Because I
Oh
think
God,
that
yeah.
they
Oh, I love cartoon covers. I love them. Yeah, no,
mhm, mhm.
it's my preference actually. I think they're fun. Um,
I feel like you
uh,
should do all your shopping in London then. The British love a
yes, yes, yes.
love
Uh,
a cartoon cover.
I from your mouth to God's ears. I would like to be doing all my shopping in London. Thank you very much. But unfortunately, um, life keeps happening, and we don't get to Europe often enough. But yes, yes, I love a cartoon.
Well, it's
Um,
just funny when I'm there. So, okay, so it doesn't matter. They often have a buy one get the second book for 1 pence deal.
yeah, yeah.
I find them in airports. I find myself then buying 2 books and then
Oh,
lugging them through the airport to the annoyance of anybody with me. So,
So do you have books? Do you have a book stack there and here?
of course, I mean, well,
Good.
I would
I
like.
just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure because in my mind you did. I just wanted to verify. Okay, good,
Yeah,
good,
I do
good.
carry them both ways now that you say that, because actually I was just talking to my son about this last night. Heathrow has it is not a joy to fly through because they have a lot of issues with security and delays and whatnot because of the weather. It's like flying in San Francisco. You know what I mean? It's always foggy, and then they schedule flights as if it's not always foggy. Anyway, and I mean, LAX is a joy because it's there's never weather. I mean, 99% of the
Because we
time.
don't have weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
a it's a
Mhm.
joy. But I do take books both ways, but what I have found, I mean, the covers are diametrically opposed for the most part between here and there. But when I walk into the bookstore to get my buy one get one free offer because I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
BOGO
yeah,
with the book,
yeah.
they're still to this day. They started out with cartoon covers before we had them, and they still have them. They really love them. I actually have no feelings about it, but I do find them charming. I don't even
Yeah,
say it. Like they're
I do
charming.
too.
I'm
Because it
charmed.
lets it kinda I mean, it lets me use my imagination.
That's
Yeah,
true. That is true. That is true.
and, yeah,
Okay, sorry, I
I
got
like
completely sidetracked. So, okay, so the after the kisses, I'm sorry, after that book, what did
um,
you think? What was your plan? I mean, not that everybody has a plan. You can't.
oh, my plan I did not have a plan. Well, no, I went, okay, so now we're gonna go out into my, that was 2017. So 18, I think 2018 sound 20 no 2019 I think, um, was the last RWA in New York.
I think you're right.
and I had went took a book out, was querying a book. It was a contemporary romance set in Detroit. It was had a lot of cars in it, and music, and I really loved it. I had a lot of agent interest. I decided to go with a really big agent who ghosted me and never sent it out. I've never went on a submission as far as I know.
Oh, that's worse. I'm sorry.
And um, immediately when we got back from the RWA, New York, we bought a house. We moved into it in October, and by February we were locked down in COVID. And I kind of I was that querying um, experience just shut me down for a long time. And but I was fortunate enough to have made friends with a writing group out of Minneapolis. It's called Smut University, as a matter of fact, and I can't recommend them enough. And we met every morning over Zoom, every
Oh wow.
5 days a week. For 2 hours, we wrote together throughout all of COVID lockdown. So for like basically 2 years. Um, uh, it was amazing. And I don't know if I would have gotten my act back together. I would have written again. I'm not sure. I think I would have I really felt like I got I just had the wind just completely taken out of my sails. Um, when that happened with the agent. And I don't think, and I think looking back at it now, being better informed, and also it was right when RWA was falling apart, and I didn't have a lot of support. Like, I wasn't anybody I could turn to and say, "Hey, um, my agent ghosted me. This happened," and it turns out it does. But I didn't have anybody, and so I just let it go and got into writing, and I just started writing. And at some point, I sent in a manuscript to Thule Publishing, which is, a California-based publisher in San Juan Capistrano, and they liked what I had written, but really wanted something that was more category romance, that was more hallmarky, was a little more cinematic, and when they said that, I was just like, all my bells and whistles went off, and I went like, oh, I can combine my screenwriting, like my love of Hallmark movies and romance into one thing and see how it goes.
Mhm.
And so that's when I think I got a 3-book contract somewhere in that. And it was just because I was just getting up and writing every morning with this lovely, supportive writing group that from and the my favorite part about this group, it was super diverse, and they were like from all over the world. There was a woman from Germany and from Washington D.C. and all over, and there were all these little faces every morning that greeted me, and we were all just struggling through the COVID times together. It was wonderful.
Has well, let me ask you this, because then has your writing changed, do you think, from that
Yeah.
initial book to now?
Oh yeah. I think. Well, let me just say, when I my first book that was published was about an 18-year-old protagonist, and the books I'm writing now are I have 65-year-old protagonists, um, and um, and so I think that that's reflective of my own heart and how I feel like I want, like, all of a sudden I want to write for older women, for um, uh, and especially it mirrors my own love life, where I didn't fall in love until I was in my 40s, and I didn't get married till I was 48. And I just feel like so often I see people say, I don't think it's ever going to happen for me again. And it's like, you don't know, you have different priorities, but you don't know. Maybe you can fall in love at any age, or you can find love. My mom and her friends are all dating. Why not? Why not? Why not? And isn't that what I mean? Romance was always about the heart, always about the happily ever after. And if we don't give women of older age romances, then there isn't a happily ever after. So yeah, that's what's changed, I think, for me at least. And I'm enjoying that. And I think there's probably less of an audience for it. And
That's always the
I don't
part
know.
I wonder about, and I do. Okay, so my favorite age to write is mid-30s. I don't know why. I probably should be in
Yep,
therapy
no.
exploring that. I don't know why. But well, because I'm like fascinated. I'm like, there's something
Yeah.
about like the
Well,
mid to
I
late
think I
30s. I like, yeah.
love it. I feel like I was at my prime in my 30s. I felt like I could do anything, and
Well, I
I
feel like I
didn't.
had almost enough knowledge. You know what I mean? Almost enough wisdom. Almost enough wisdom, and still had a lot of energy.
I
Um,
Yes, 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 agreed. And also, I wasn't facing. I feel like in my 40s and 50s, I faced harder questions than I was facing in my 30s.
no, that's
And
unfortunately
it may have just
true.
been that because I wasn't a parent, but still, I feel like I'm facing more of the harder questions now. And so, yeah, 30s, I loved 30s, and I get it. That energetic, love it, love it. And I think I think most people want to read about that. Yeah.
Is there a reason why you didn't spend a lot of time in the new adult space, that age space, not the
Oh,
genre space? Because I have my own feelings. Well, I guess I'll just say,
well,
I yeah,
I
go ahead.
loved coming of age stories, but I do think that new adult became, and I read a lot of new adult,
Mm,
but I do think it became about first sexual experiences, rather than where I was really I enjoyed them as first experiences of all kinds,
mhm.
first job, first sexual experience, first dating experience, first decision making experiences. But it felt like it was really just going towards first sexual experiences, and I think that that was never something that I felt super strong at writing, where uh, bedroom situations. I just never felt like I
I
I I
yeah.
don't feel like that's my strength. I think I have a really good sense of humor, and I don't know if that always transfers well into the writing bedroom scenes.
I
Um,
okay, well,
it
now
just doesn't.
I'm trying to think, are there funny? I'd have to. Okay, I have to think about that because I think
Sometimes I think there
sometimes
are authors who can do it, but then I also think I don't think it's for me. I don't think I can. So
that's interesting. The first experiences, because I think my frustration with new. Okay, I think I would have loved New Adult if I were that age when they were popular.
yeah,
But I can't. I can't make that. I can't make the past change. But I think my frustration became with. I felt some of the conflicts if they had just waited 15 minutes to 10 years. They would realize the conflicts were not as
yeah.
important, not as big as they thought they were then. I
The big
that's
questions. The big
and
questions.
and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, life gets way more complicated than this.
Oh,
Calm
yeah,
down, girl.
exactly,
Come
exactly.
on now.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that's why 35 is perfect because you are making changes, choices, and, yeah, absolutely. I love that.
so, what is it that you're with an older heroine or older protagonist? What kind of questions are they facing?
Uh, they're facing third act questions. Um, I know what I've got. I know. Let me put it this way: the other day, our cat sitter came over to our house, and this is like an innocuous way to deal with the questions that I'm thinking about. But our cat sitter came over to our house and came for a visit, and she's very lovely. And I said to her, and she's probably 6 years older than I am. And I said to her, I'm like, she was adopting a kitten. And I said, hey, what are you thinking about? Uh, what are you going to do uh, about the kitten you're adopting? Because I feel like we've aged out, that we can no longer adopt kittens, that, without wondering, are we going to outlive them?
Mhm.
And I think that that's one of the questions that we start to think of, that people my age start to think about, is like, um, I've got 20 years left. And hopefully I will keep my mind about me those during those 20 years. And so what do I want to do with that time? What exactly is will fulfill me? What will uh, give me my happily ever after at the same time that you're facing your mortality? And so I
Oh,
feel like those are really big questions, because a lot of women my age are single. They do want to fall in love. At the same time, you got some really pretty big questions coming up, and so I find that that's right in my wheelhouse, I guess. Because that's the stuff I'm thinking about, is asking our cat sitter, "Hey, what are you doing at and she had a plan. What she was adopting this kitten, and she'd already made a plan with, the person who was executing her will, and she was going to leave some money to make sure this cat was taken care of after, if anything happened." And I thought, "Oh, okay. These are the things we're thinking about." And it sounds, small, but
mhm.
it's actually kind of big.
Okay, so then I have a different question because okay, so really long story short, up until a couple of years ago, I never watched reality television. It was just not a
Okay, yeah.
thing
It's not
for
yeah.
and I read a nonfiction book about it and I realized it I mean, given our president, it apparently had changed the
Yes,
country in a way that I was unaware because I live in a hole in the ground, which is fine.
right.
So I started watching reality television a couple of years ago, and I've only watched like two shows, and they're both like I guess dating, marriage, romance shows. I guess and that's the category as opposed to like Survivor or something, which I guess is a different category. What I'm sort of fascinated by. So I woke up this morning and there's a new drop of the show called Married at First Sight, which I don't
Okay.
recommend for like your brain, stimulation. Um, but this is the first season, I guess, that they're including older couples. And so they're like in their 50s. One is like my age, and I'm like, oh, I hope I don't look that old. So I'm sorry. Oh, you're looking, you're like,
Yeah. Okay.
anyway, so they're in their 50s and 60s, but like early 60s. And what I'm watching is the emotional unavailability of some men in our generation. And I think, okay, I'm starting to being single and wanting to fall in love again, but the men have not, these men, I
Yeah.
mean, this is TV, have
No.
not progressed in the same way. And I was thinking if I were to write or read a book about it, would the journey be like trying to find that one emotionally available person, the person not stuck in this like patriarchal norms? Like he's talking about change. They're talking about changing her name. She's like 50, and she was like, "This is a lot of forms," and I was like, "I wouldn't be bothered with this." I'm like call my credit card company and Social Security. God no.
Oh, you
Okay,
mean she was getting married? Yeah, no, yeah, well, yeah.
and she was talking
Oh,
about changing
that's
everyone.
the premise of the show, yeah. Yeah, that is it's a pain in the butt. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I've never changed my name, so I don't know. I mean, I understand the concept. I just have never done it.
I was a late in life marriage, and I was my dad's only child, and I didn't want to get rid of my maiden name,
Mhm.
because yeah, that was it. So yeah, I get what she's saying. Yeah,
But also the emotional unavailability. And I was like, oh, well, he's my age and he's acting the same as people my age. And I was like, oh. So when you're writing these older women, I'm assuming like those heterosexual romance, how are you handling the men given the era in which they grew up?
yeah, isn't that the truth? Well,
I
I
do
have
wonder. I have so many
dozens,
questions.
which is why I'm writing a murder. Well, yeah, yeah, um, yeah, it's a problem, and it's definitely a problem, and so it becomes what will make these women happy. I mean, yeah, and my mom talks about my mom's 87,
Mm.
and she and her friends date, but she's like, I don't want to get married again, and I think that I think that's where a lot of women between my age and my mom's age are at. They want to date, they want to go out, they want to have a glass of wine, they want to go to the movies, they want to enjoy that closeness, that camaraderie, but they also want their space because I think they do recognize exactly what you're saying. They may have evolved um, further along than their male
Cohort.
counterparts. Yeah.
No, I actually have a friend. I was actually talking to her yesterday. Not about this. We were talking about health insurance because it's
Oh,
America.
same. But again, another thing that you're thinking about. Yeah, I know health insurance. Oh my god. Yeah.
But separate and apart from open enrollment period, her
Yeah.
mom is dating. So her parents got divorced late in life, and her mom is dating. And upon divorce, they sold the house. Because California,
Yeah.
it's a lot to care for, and they moved into, I guess, a retirement community somewhere by the beach. I don't know about retirement communities yet. And what is interesting is that her mom and her friends are dating. They're in their late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, we're having dinner. I want to go dancing. I want to have a glass of wine. And then he's got to go home.
Yep.
And the men are like, well, why don't you want to live together? And they're like, I don't want to share money with you and I don't want to clean up after you. And and it's fascinating to me because they're getting the best and the men are like, they're like, but my needs are not being met. And I'm thinking, I think some of these things you're going to have to meet your own needs.
Yeah.
I've said this is me editorializing behind. I'm not out there
Very,
talking to them. Um,
it's very interesting. It's very interesting of what your needs are as a like what your needs are uh as you age, as that they change, and it's very interesting.
it's just interesting because
Very
I'm
interesting.
watching women finally say, and they're not even they're a whole generation older than me,
Mhm,
finally
mhm.
saying, I think I'm done with my caretaking role.
Yes.
And the men are like, wait, what? And it's
Yeah, I know.
they're like, wait, you're done? And they're like, yeah, we're done. And
Yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. Nope. The energy, and I think that the energy that I have will be for me,
mhm,
and perhaps the pet that I'm living with, who will also be receiving be on the receiving end of whatever monies I am leaving behind. So thank you, sir, and let's go dancing. Yeah. Mhm.
but actually, this is so off the cuff, but it's random. But last summer I saw let me say this. So, I'm in Budapest in the summer and I
Yeah.
go to a lot of photography museums. Whatever, it's my thing.
Interesting.
And one of the shows, so every year they have all these different prizes, and this is like a prize for like storytelling and like within Hungary or whatever. So it was this child, like adult child, like he's in his 40s or 50s, did a photo essay of his mother taking care of his father while his father was dying.
Oh dear.
So very sad, but quite compelling. But
I'm
what
sure.
what I was fascinated by the essay is that you know how when we were growing up, often, at least in my life, when letters came addressed to like my grandmothers or maybe my mother, it would be Mrs.
Mhm. I know
Well,
exactly what you're saying.
in case of
Mhm.
Mrs. Joseph, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and the title in the exhibit, he called her Mrs. whatever his name was, Mrs.
Yeah.
Joseph, whatever. And I realized I looked at the entire exhibit and she's doing all the caretaking and he's like dying. It's unfortunate. But I realized the only two things I knew about her is that she got her nails done because her nails were flawless, like in their 80s, and that she was doing this caretaking. But at no point, I didn't even know her name. And I was like,
But I think there was a whole generation of women who wanted desperately to shed their identity and become that wife, that caretaker, that they wanted to shed that, and and thank God she kept her nails, I guess. But it just, yeah, I yes, and she doesn't keep that she didn't keep her name. Yeah,
and
that her
but
identity
even
was tied up with his.
But even the son who was doing the thing, and I think in his little essay beforehand, he was talking about how he was honoring his mother, and I was like, "But is her name Natalie? Is her name Gloria? Like, is her name?" I mean, it would have been
Yeah.
something Hungarian, like
Well,
Maria or something, or Teresa or something. But I was like, I don't even know her name, and I was like, I have some thoughts about that. But I'm
yeah,
starting to feel like women who are older are more interested in keeping or even learning more about their identity
yeah.
and not being necessarily after the great divorce or something, or even being single, not necessarily being that identity being swallowed up.
I think they're just interested in living in this third act. They want a
Mhm.
full life. And I find that what you just said reminds me of when I worked in Hollywood, and for the most part, I worked as someone's assistant. And I remember a friend of mine getting really frustrated and slamming down the phone because of the way she was being treated by her very high-powered boss, and saying, "God damn it, I just want a job where I don't have somebody else's name in the title." And um, and I think that that's the same thing for that woman. It's like, yeah, I just want a life with that doesn't have somebody else's name for mine. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
Although I did wake up, this is so off topic, and then I'm going to ask you a different question. But I did
Yeah.
wake up this morning a little aggravation because so the recent so I'm from New York City. So I have a somewhat maybe more than a passing interest, although everybody does, in the mayoral election. So
Yeah.
the mayor elect just announced his transition team, and all the headlines are all female transition team. And I thought, so if he had four men behind him, would the headline be all male transition team? It would not.
Those those women also happen to be very formidable,
I know,
and
and I was like,
just very powerful and have held really
I know, huge.
that's not the headline about most of them, is what they have done and why he's chosen them, is a really important thing, and I don't think it's because they're women. I think it's what they've done and managed to accomplish.
But I was
Yes.
a little aggro. Not
Yeah.
the way to wake
Got
up.
it. Got it. Got
So
it.
let me ask you this, and I don't mean this in the way it's going to sound. I'm not like presaging your death, but in your third act of writing, I'll think of it this way.
Yeah.
What is it? What are the kind of stories do you think you want to tell going forward?
Yeah, so I've come around to this whole, golden age of mystery, which kind of cracks me up that I've come back to,
Agatha
Agatha
Christie, like you came back to where you started.
Dorothy Sayers, that I've come back to her, and also, to, I think in a way, embracing Miss Marple, who, always seemed like a little old lady when I was younger, and now just seems like a smart chick, and, I kind of love the fact that I'm getting to embrace that. I don't you know what, again, I feel like, somebody said to me, "Write the book of your heart." So I wrote the book of my heart that just happens to have a 55-year-old and a 65-year-old, two women who, have hated each other all their lives, who have to join forces to solve, a murder. or else they're going to lose their career in Hollywood. So, um, and I've had nothing but pleasure writing it, and I am once again querying, and I guess I finally I feel like that's where I'm at. Is like I'm coming back around again. Like it keeps I'm coming back to Agatha Christie. I'm coming back to querying, and maybe that's a good thing. Is that
And also a
that's
little bit of Hollywood magic. I heard it.
and we all like I think that that's what writing career is and life also is that you have to ride the highs and the lows that you are going to go through patches where the high powered agent you think you have is going to ghost you and you're going to end up underneath your desk not knowing whether you should keep going or not and and either you do or you don't and I have kept writing. I am also self-publishing some novellas right now, and I'm kind of like, well, if this querying thing doesn't work out, then I think I want to do something else, some sort of self-publishing, and I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I do feel like it's more in the mystery um, field than in romance. There's yeah, mystery's coming to the fore for me. And maybe that's because the big questions now need to be answered in the third act. Um and
That's true.
and things do seem more mysterious because these are huge questions now. Um yeah, but I do love writing. I am grateful for all the people that have helped me, that have mentored me. I mean, I didn't start like this kind of writing until I was in my 40s. And I am also really, really, really enjoy uh, working with, being a part of, talking to younger writers. That my core writing group now is a woman who's amazing, who's in her late 30s, and another amazing writer who's in her late 20s, and I love getting their input. I love listening to them. I love what they're doing, and so I feel like it all just like comes around
Mhm.
and we all have such different perspectives, yet we have the same feelings about it. So it's yeah. I guess that's I'm querying, and that's all I know. It's very painful. That's where I'm at.
Uh,
I don't know if it's a good thing, but yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if it gets better. That's.
I know
I don't. I.
the state of publishing right now. I don't know, um, but I know that I have always loved stories and storytelling, and I still want to try. So here
No,
I
you
am.
you you you're giving us all hope because I mean, like, look, 95% of the conversations I have are about the state of publishing, but they were
Right.
15 years ago, and
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's going to change. And I'm not saying there's like some sea changes that are just. I feel like
Some
AI
sea
is.
changes that I think have to happen that I just hope benefits writers and not.
Yeah, I feel like the sea change of AI is a slightly different than ebooks. Ebooks democratize things in a lot of ways. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what the result of like large language models will be on, right? I mean, I just
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But people didn't know with ebooks. But that's to me such a different sort of change. But I mean, I guess we have to roll with it because what are the other options?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're dealing with forces larger than ourselves. And also I would love to see a point where, we're not all having to use one kind of space to sell books from. And if you don't use that one particular space, that one behemoth,
Mhm.
um, that you're nowhere.
Mhm.
Um, that there be more spaces, and yeah, it's scary out there, and I don't exactly feel encouraging. The only thing I feel encouraged about is the fact that I still read books that are really good, and that opened my eyes to new places and new things and new perspectives. And I crave that more now than ever.
I think we all do. I'm not lying. I think that we all do. So with that, I want to thank you so much for taking the time in your sunny home
This
to
has been
come and chat.
such a thrill for me to see you, and to be here. I thank you so much for asking me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I can't believe I remember your first book. There's a few people whose like first book.
I know, I can't either.
It's imprinted on my brain. I don't know what it is. I'm like,
I love it. Thank you. And I think about you every summer in Budapest, because my husband and I have become huge F1 fans. So every year I see the Hungarian GP
at
and
the Hungaroring,
yeah. I'm always like, oh, I wonder if she's over there. And
it's a little too hot for me to be outside at this age in my life. So if somebody asked me about that and like the music festival, and I was like, I don't know, 10 years ago, more so. Now it's a little hot.
We talk about, that's of course like a fantasy to go to the F1, one of the F1s. They're very expensive, and I look at it and there's all those people together, and you've paid a lot of money to be in that huge space with a lot of people. And I'm like, maybe I'll watch it on television.
Like the Olympics. Okay, I'm going to be honest. And then I really actually have to go. But the huge gathering, what they do in Budapest is because a lot of people can't afford it. And obviously the tickets are limited and they sell out really quickly because people fly from all over Europe, and it's obviously not that far to fly. But they have these huge outdoor screenings now for that and the Olympics and obviously soccer or football. Uh-huh. And that is a more pleasurable way to enjoy it. So it's social, and the screens are huge, and there's like food, and it's very carnival-y.
I love that.
For me, this has become a way I've enjoyed things a little bit more. So I get the social aspect without having to go to the arena. But
I get it. I hear what you're saying. Yep. Well, it's just great to see you look just as beautiful as ever. And I'm glad you're doing these podcasts, and I wish you nothing but success.
The time to thrill with me, your host, Aime Austin. If you enjoyed today's episode, I hope you'll share, rate, and leave a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. It'll help others find and enjoy my conversations with brilliant women creators. Also, please hit the subscribe button on your podcast app. In addition to hosting this podcast, I'm an author. My latest book, His Last Mistress, is out now. Check out the 5-star reviews, get your copy before someone else spoils the twist. I'm also the author of the Nicole Long series of Regal Thrillers. The first 4 books in the series are now live. You can download Outcry Witness, Major Crimes, Without Consent, and The Murders Began to your e-reader right now. I'm also the author of the Casey Court series of legal thrillers. These titles are available wherever books are sold, your local library, and also an audiobook. You can follow me on Substack, Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook, and TikTok, all at Legal Thriller Author. One long word. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back with you soon with more great conversations.